So this is the juicier video that I wanted to talk about, where pretty much why I, named the stream as it is. I honestly believe divorce rates, and this is not what I believe. Well, this part is divorce rates is a 50. It's about a coin flip, right? You flip a coin. If you're lucky, you're not divorced. If you're unlucky, you're divorced. It's like a gamble. 50-50. It's about 50-50. Divorces are filed 70% of the time by women. Now, we have all these lists of why women divorce, right? Unfaithful, not being faithful, money and shit like that. But one of the biggest written things is like unvocable differences. I think a lot of those times you can attribute, I think majority of divorces, in my opinion, the majority of divorces happen because women are bored. Women are tired of men. The men that they chose to marry, the men that they chose to give children to, they're bored of that man. Or they don't have a spark for that man anymore. Or they view this man as below them, that they can do better. I think that's the majority of cases where women are bored of the men that they chose or think that they can do better than the man that they chose. So let's check this video out. Let's react to this video. This will probably be the rest of the stream. So let's check this video out.
All right, Kiera.
Yes, hi.
Kiera, where are you from originally? Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Northwest Indiana, a very small town called Griffith, 2 miles by 2 miles. So, little town.
Tell me about your childhood growing up.
I had both parents in the home. It was a fairly okay childhood. I had my dad in the home, but my theory is he stopped paying attention to me when I got a mind of my own. So him and I haven't been close my whole life. We are now. But my mom is my rock, my absolute best friend and soulmate.
You're close to with your mom?
Oh yeah, most definitely. What my best friend.
What would you say is the roughest part of your childhood?
The roughest part of my childhood was probably watching my parents get into some legal trouble when I was very young. I didn't even find out what they did until I was 15 or 16, but the house got raided and I watched my parents get taken away, so.
What were they doing?
They were drug dealers. So, but everybody's clean and sober now and doing really well.
Good. How far did you go in school?
Oh, I graduated. I graduated from my local high school in Griffith.
What kind of kid were you in high school?
I was a good kid until I turned 16, and then I started.
Let me say this. Past should always matter to all men. A woman's past should matter to all men. Because a woman's past, one of the key things you got to take from it is that trauma, life experience for women, it's not a good thing. Women handle trauma terribly. At least in the relationship aspect. Women, when they've had traumatic experiences, it will be a rough ride when it comes to relationships. So, learning a woman's past is very, very important if you want to date her.
Smoking weed, skipping school, doing drugs, drinking. I actually got expelled December of my senior year for having Xanax on me. And my mom had called the school and told them. So I did get arrested. I just turned 18. At 18, for having drugs at school. And then I kind of continued to get arrested on and off and crash multiple vehicles on drugs until I turned 21 when I got clean for good.
For good?
For good.
Good for you.
Yeah, been 12 years.
That's great.
Thanks.
And where has your life gone since then?
It's better now. I mean, I'm a mom. I have 2 children. I'm a provisional community association manager for HOAs. I live in Reno. I just have the best boyfriend I could ever ask for. So it's been different, but where I'm at right now is good.
What have you been through between the boyfriend and moving or leaving high school?
So I moved to Reno with a man that I had known in person for just a month or so. I met him through the company I was working for. He ended up not being the nicest man ever, but I followed him to Reno, and I was with him for almost a decade. But I probably wasn't the best wife to him. So we got divorced in July of 2020, I believe.
You were married how many years?
We were married 6, together almost 10. Yeah.
You guys had problems.
Yes, we both had our own sets of problems. Like I mentioned, he wasn't very kind. So he did lay hands on me, be very rude to me, make terrible comments, call me names, put me down. But then I was unfaithful a few times and ended up.
This is the thing. This is my probably unpopular opinion. One, it is absolutely insanity. For women, again, I do not condone abuse. I don't. I do not like it. Yeah, and she married. This is the thing. Why I never say women deserve it. But I'm saying that women are insane. You would marry a man, stay with a man that was terrible, abusive to you. Is absolutely illogical to me. Because unless you were held captive, we are all adults, have our own free will. Because a lot of women that are supposedly in abusive relationships, if they see, like, let's say their sister, their friend, whoever in an abusive relationship, they can logically say, you should get out of it. Yet, they would say in that relationship, it don't make sense to me. I get it, the whole, what is it? I don't know, being emotionally held captive, but it's still idiotic. Because unless you're brain dead, I think it's stupid. But here's the thing, right? I honestly believe toxic people attract other toxic people. Because she was most likely an abusive person herself. Maybe not physically, but she will probably be abusive emotionally, verbally, or as she says, with cheating, which is probably emotionally abusive. So I've always believed that these men that are abusive, cheaters, or whatever, the person that they're with ain't that great. Was most likely a toxic person as well. So really, they fit each other. So you cannot, this is the thing where women or society always paint one side of a picture. Oh, the man was abusive. The man was a cheater. The man was all this thing. Okay, but it takes two to tango. He wasn't in a relationship with himself. We always forget and we always let women play the victim. But in all honesty, I think no one is a victim. Or maybe they're both the victim. Because they were both toxic. Because I honestly believe it is rare, in my opinion, for one side to be an absolute angel and the other person the toxic, abusive one. In my opinion.
Mothering children from those men on my husband.
So you were married to your husband, but you were having children with other men.
I was.
Toxicity. I mean, Am I saying that she deserved to be abused? No. But I'm saying that women have a hand in the shit that happens to them. Everybody. Human beings have a hand in the shit that happens to them. If I go walking late at night with my phone, jewelry, whatever, and then I get mugged, yes, the mugger is a very big part of the blame. But I had a hand in it. Because why would I go walking out at night, flashing shit, and think that nothing will happen to me? Everyone should be held accountable for the actions that they do. Now, the actions that you do comes with consequences. Now, I'm not saying you deserve to be beaten. No, that's not what I said. But there are consequences to your actions. Plain and simple. Good or bad. So, toxic people will attract other toxic people. So that's why maybe I'm unsympathetic in that. I don't believe in the whole victimhood crap that a lot of women and society paint out. Men are terrible. Men are abusive. Men are the cheaters. Men are the ones that are abusing women. It's not one way. It is rarely, in my opinion, rarely one way. Both parties are toxic. There are results to both actions. Maybe he beat her and she left him, or she cheated on him. That's a result. But maybe she cheated on him and he beat her. So really, they're both terrible. They're both toxic. So no surprise that they attract each other.
I was. And he raised them as his own and knew them to be his own until the divorce.
Toxicity! Now, this man was most likely not good, but raised children that weren't his and thought that these were his children. I'm not saying that she deserves to be beaten. I'm not. But there are consequences to your action because this woman was not a good woman to begin with. So really, again, she don't deserve it, but there are consequences to your action. And you are already a toxic person. So, no duh, you attract toxic people. That was low. That is low. To let a man believe he is raising his children, but in reality, he's raising other man's children. And this is the thing. Statistics will have, I've heard statistics about 15 to 20% of men are raising other men's children unknowingly. Take it for what it is. That is disgusting. That is absolutely toxic. It is no difference, in my opinion, than being physically abusive. Because you do not know how many those situations when men find out that they raise other men's children have left to self-deletion. So really, is that much different?
How did that news come out?
My lawyer had to use language in what we wanted to kind of make it a point to say that, like, he may not be the dad. I don't even remember what word she used, but it was a word that kind of made his lawyer be like, we should probably do a DNA test on these children. And he did.
Because you were looking to keep it quiet?
I wouldn't say that.
To collect child support?
No, oh no. The divorce agreement said no child support on either side. We were both making the same amount of money. So to this day, neither of us pays child support. But no, he got them. I didn't want to.
And you know what? I mean, those numbers may be higher than actually what I said, but I'd rather give it the benefit of the doubt, right? But even if it's 15%, it should be zero. It should be zero. No man should be unknowingly raising another man's child. No man. No man. That is one of the most disgusting things that can happen to a man. One of the most disgusting things. That he loves this child, thinking that it's his, thinking that it's his blood, has his last name, thinking that he's been raising this child, loving this child, but it's not his. I think that's world shattering. And I know it has destroyed plenty of men.
Necessarily keep it quiet. I didn't want to break his heart, is what it is. No matter how mean he was to me, I don't use that as an excuse for what I did, because there's not an excuse, you know? And I carry a lot of guilt with me about it. And I got my babies. I mean, they're the greatest things in the whole world, but...
How did he find out?
He did the paternity test, and the paternity test came back. He was 99%, like, not the father. And he called me, and he was like, do you want to get in front of this? I said, get in front of what? What do you mean? And about an hour later, he had posted publicly on Facebook that he was not the father of the children.
How many kids?
2.
How old were they?
5 at the time, 4 and 2. 4 and 2. And they still know him to be their only father. And he still treats them as if he's the only father.
So he's still in their lives.
Oh, yeah.
It's very nice of him.
If that's what you want to call it.
That is very nice of him. Because that's absolutely disgusting of her. This man has already built a relationship with these kids. He's already loved these kids. But here's the thing. Here's the thing that women like this never think about. These kids have a mind of their own. So, imagine this. And it's happened. It's happened. These kids grow up. This man has spent years of loving these kids. These kids grow up, learning that, you know what, this man is actually not their father. So, these men actually want to find who their father is. That is also a betrayal to this man. Because that's going to break his heart. Where these kids now see this man as not their father and want to find their real father. And imagine this. Hypothetically, if one was a girl. If, hypothetically, she finds she wants her real husband, her real father to walk her down the aisle. It's happened. This man his heart be shattered. This is the thing where men try not to be emotionally open because women don't understand. It hurts so much. Because things like that will absolutely destroy a man. Men will try their best to stay strong, but men are human too. This is the thing where I think it's disgusting how society portrays men. Men are human too. Men can feel sadness. Men can feel depression. Men can feel loneliness. Men can suffer through emotional pain. But yet women, society, women, they make men view to be emotionless. Why are you crying? Why are you sad? Man up.
I call it control, but nice is not a word that people often use for this man. Anything he can do to not essentially let go of me and to kind of continue to control my life is what I think to be the reason.
What you think? Absolutely toxic. Still self-centered. It's about her. It's all about her. Not about the kids that he, for years, thought was his own. But because he's a man, he can't have that bond with kids that he thought it was his, right? He can't have that bond where he thought he was the father. That's unreasonable. That's not logical. that a man can obviously have this fatherly bond with kids, even though surprisingly they're not his own. He should be easily break those feelings of fatherly bond with kids that he's been raising or contributing to for years. He should easily be able to break that feelings, right? Because he's a man. No, it has to be her. It has to be about her.
He sees him once a week, takes him every other weekend, maybe not even the whole weekend.
So it's an ugly divorce.
It was ugly. It went on for about 7 or 8 months, which I know is not long in most divorces, but I thought it was going to be a cut and dry, quick thing. I didn't think he was going to fight me on it. I thought he didn't like me this whole time, but here we are. So he did fight me on pretty much everything I asked for. The divorce.
This is the thing what women don't understand. And this is the thing. Here's my weird, crazy opinion. My own opinion. Hypothetical. I don't know this woman's story like that. Who knows if she would explain it right. Now, this man was terrible to her. Supposedly beat her. But we don't play a story of who did what. Most men, I believe, are good men. Even the ones that turn bad. They turn bad because of shit that happens to them. So here's a toxic woman. Attract a weak man. He's a weak man. That maybe if she treated him terribly, well, he lashed out. Now, I don't know what she said. What came first, right? Was she cheating before he was terrible? Who knows? But this is a thing where she said that she didn't know if he loved her or why he fight it so hard. Maybe he still loved her, or maybe he loved her and he wanted to be with her. This is a thing where we may, and this again, I'm making assumptions, just making assumptions because of what she just said. This is the thing. I think a lot of men, maybe he loved her. He just wants her to treat him better. Be better. Because, again, she's broken. She's broken. So, most likely, she doesn't know how to treat a man well. And this man loved her, but he's still a weak man. So, he doesn't know how to talk, explain, and figure things out. So, he resorts to crappy shit. It's like, it's deeper than people make it out to be.
This ended pretty equal. Nobody got anything crazy. 50-50 with the kids until he ended up unhoused. But yeah, he's still present. He still shows up to parent-teacher conferences. He coached my son's baseball team last summer. So he's still as involved as he wants to be.
And you would prefer that was not the case, or?
Unfortunately, he doesn't like to pick, this is going to sound bad about me, but he doesn't like to pick the best women. And I do feel that one day there will come a woman who doesn't necessarily want him to raise children who aren't his. I hope that doesn't happen. But if that does happen, I will have wished he had made the move sooner.
Did you premeditate this, or just all of a sudden you found out you were pregnant by somebody you were cheating with?
Oh, no, it was definitely not premeditated, but we weren't using protection.
So it was premeditated.
I didn't say, like, I'm going to have sex with this man to have a baby, but I mean, I guess there was nothing done to prevent it. And the first man that I had the affair with is now my boyfriend, the father of my first child, my son, and
absolutely disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. That man is absolutely weak. The ex-husband is absolutely weak. This right here, what she just said, oh God, what she just said. The man that she had an affair with is the actual father of her son. The man, her husband, her ex-husband was the child that the child that her ex-husband was raising is now. This is such a mess. This is so disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. No, and you know what? Great. She's honest. It's an interview, so she should be honest. But this shows me more of that man. The ex-husband was weak. He was weak. And honestly, here's my opinion. Assumption. She treated him terribly. She didn't respect. Let's say this. She probably loved him for whatever, but then as time goes on, she found him to be weak. But she still stayed with him, right? Maybe for whatever toxic mentality she had, she still stayed with him. She's toxic. But she saw this man wasn't man enough, so she had an affair. Now, I'm making an assumption that could lead to violence, domestic abuse, so on and so on. She kept on having affairs, and he kept on being bad, but he was still a weak man to begin with. Even though she stayed with this weak man, which is, God forbid, I don't know why, she still stayed with this man. This is a thing where this man is such, because maybe she was a drug, it's like all these things, but it contributed to this man was weak. So he's trying to hold on to kids that aren't his when the father of the kid is already there, which is absolutely, this man has no back. This is why I make this shit, because we have men like that. We have men like that outside in the real world. Weak ass men like that. This man is truly weak, doormat, no backbone, probably suffering as a man. You are fine with having custody of a child that's not yours when the father of the child is now with that mother. You're grasping at straws. It's disgusting.
He was my husband's assistant manager at the time.
This gets me.
And you went for a man that was below him? You had an affair with a man that was the assistant to your husband. You know what? She probably got with that man because he was stable. But she saw this man as weak. He is stable, right? He had probably finances. He probably had whatever. A good job or whatever during that time. And
Messy.
It's very, it's very messy. So my ex-husband brought him onto the team where he was working. And my ex-husband always made his assistant managers like his best friend. So he started bringing this guy around, and I made the first move, of course.
Of course! You're married! Why of course? And he made this man his best friend. And you made him. The more I hear about it, I'm sorry. Can you be surprised that man was abusive to her?
And I feel like I just sensed his kindness. I mean, still to this day, this man that I'm with is the kindest, most patient man I've ever met. So I think I felt that kindness from him, which I wasn't getting from my husband at the time. So I don't even know how it started beyond me just touching his hand when we were smoking joints. But one day he came over my house without my ex-husband there, and you know what happened next. And we only saw each other once a week to do this because of how my schedule, my ex-husband's schedule, and his schedule matched up. So every Wednesday, I saw him. We had sex, he watched me get ready for work, and then he'd go work for my ex-husband.
Here's the thing where women never talk about. She said that this man that she had an affair with was nice. And how her ex-husband wasn't nice. But how I see things is that if this woman can be unfaithful and cheat and still be with the man, still be with her husband, can do this to her husband, do you think that she facilitated an environment with her husband at the time, a good, healthy relationship? You think she, helped produce a good, healthy relationship with her husband at the time? In all honesty, how I see this type of woman, she probably made it toxic, helped or made it and contribute to a unhealthy relationship. So now I'm not condoning it, but can you be surprised the consequences of that is now you have a husband that's unhappy, but he's your husband. So men do not jump to divorce just for shits and giggles. So it's rare for a man to divorce. Because again, men don't like the failure of divorce. So he sticks it out, hoping that things will change. But yes, he's unhappy. This is the thing where women don't understand. Maybe he's not nice because you establish, create an environment that doesn't facilitate that. She was probably toxic, probably not nice.
Yeah, so that's how that one started. And again, I mean, my son is just the best human ever. So I don't regret it. And I'm with him now, and he's just my absolute soulmate. And I haven't cheated on him. But the second affair, the man is the father of my daughter, he actually worked with me this time. He was my maintenance guy at my leasing job. And again, just another kind man who was nice to me. And I would see him a lot more because we worked together. So we would take our lunches together and have sex then. And when I found out I was pregnant with my son, we were 100% sure it was my husband's, even though I was having an affair, because, I don't know, I just always felt like I could sense when I got pregnant, which obviously isn't right, but I just felt it. So we were so sure. And then he came out looking like my boyfriend now. Spitting image. So there were some questions at the beginning there. But still, you have to be really sure about that to confront your wife. You gotta be real sure. So he didn't. People questioned what he looked like to him, and he just said no. And then with my daughter, she's Hispanic. So she came out a little more tan than the both of us. And just as she grew up, just kept that tan skin. And still, she looks so much like me, he was just like, yep, she looks like my wife. And now she looks like her dad, which is terrifying. But again, I love her crazy ass too. But
do you have regrets about anything you've done?
I wouldn't say regrets because I got my babies. So I definitely am not going to say that I regret it. I wish I would have gone about it differently maybe. Or maybe picked a second different baby daddy? I don't know, because I didn't even think he was gonna be my baby daddy. And here we are, with 3 baby daddies and 2 kids, is what I joke about.
Didn't she technically, in a way, cheated on the second baby daddy with the Didn't she technically cheated on the first baby daddy with the second baby daddy? I mean, they're not in a relationship, but I mean, he wasn't your only sexual partner. This is absolutely disgusting.
So yeah, it's been wild.
Emotionally, what is?
I'd say yeah.
When you're putting other people through emotions that they never.
Yeah, my
never saw coming.
ex-husband's family cut him off once he decided to claim the children. They didn't like that, and they threatened to sue me with fraud because of what they had bought in the children. And then, I mean, of course, I took away my ex-husband's whole life in one swift. Whoosh, you know, house, wife, kids. So I think the craziest part is just the guilt that I always feel, like every day. And if I think about it, I cry. And I've gotten called a lot of names. And I get it, I do. But it's like I've called myself those names more than anybody else has.
You're harder on yourself than everyone else.
Absolutely. And I mean, and my mom used to say, the people who love you. Like, they're not going to judge you. And I know that. I mean, everybody who loves me has been so supportive and so amazing, but I judge me.
Was there a little bit of revenge or satisfaction in what you did?
No. I mean, my babies, I guess, would be the satisfaction, but no, I mean, it didn't even make me feel better because he was never any nicer to me. He still treated me like crap, you know, and still, no matter how he treated me, I still feel like this about what I did to him because it sucks. I ripped his whole life away.
I mean, I get it, right? Changing it, but this is a good. I think this is good to see the actual mentality of women, right? Because this is the thing where women don't be clear with shit. Nice. Nice is such a weird thing to say. What does it mean to be nice? What does it mean that this man wasn't nice to her? Because she put these things where this man, obviously she saw that this man, his life was just like, most likely this man was, you could see that this man's life was destroyed, right? He still wanted these children. He still wanted to be in, he would give up his family to claim children that wasn't his. So really, it's like, where honestly, this is the fallacy of a lot of women's arguments. Because they don't paint the full picture or a clear picture. What is it? It wasn't nice because what? He didn't play to her emotions. He didn't sweet talk her enough. Because what I guarantee you, these men that she cheated on, sweet talk her, said she's beautiful, said she's whatever, she's gorgeous, you know, she's amazing, she's funny, all these things. Is that what she thinks is nice? Because men charming her, the Pookies, the Ray Rays, the Chads, the Tyrones, the players, the bad boys, yes, they can sweet talk the shit out of women. Does that make them nice? No. Here's the thing. This man wanted to marry her. This man still tried to be with children that's not his. I question her story. I question her viewpoints on this man. So this is why I want to watch this, to dissect how women view things. Because honestly, their views on crap, it don't make sense. We've all seen the Amber Heard shit, where she was toxic. Amber Heard was toxic. And Johnny Depp wasn't a saint. But, in my opinion, Johnny Depp became toxic because he was with a toxic woman. Because he loved a toxic woman. So he reacted in toxic ways. Here's my opinion that it's my own assumptions on my opinion, but the abusive relationships that we hear women talk constantly about, no one ever says who started things. No one ever says the chicken or the egg. In my opinion, it is women that created these toxic men. In my opinion. Because women, I'm assuming she was terrible to him. She treated him terrible. So, what'd he do? Was abusive, was toxic to her. And that facilitated, now, she's like, oh, he's terrible. I'm going to cheat. I mean, it's a chicken or the egg thing. That's why I'm saying, like, we never think how women treat men, right? How women talk to men. Now, I'm not saying that I condone it, but we never talk about, yes, although it's not a good thing that men become abusive, but we forget that, well, there are consequences. What if she was terrible to him and that created the abusive man that she had to deal with?
In one document.
Yeah, that would be a horrible thing to go through.
You know? And it's like, I didn't come out unscathed. I mean, he was mean the whole process, but my life wasn't ruined. My whole life wasn't taken away from me. So, I always feel worse about what I did to him than anything. That's what gets me every day.
What was the hardest part of the marriage for you?
My treatment, the way I was treated, and the fact that my dad was never very kind to my mom. And I won't use that as an excuse, but so therefore I feel like I kind of let men treat me terribly my whole life. I mean, now I'm a badass bitch and I'll rock your shit, but I let men treat me bad my whole life. I always joke that I grew up around mean men my whole life, so now I know how to handle them. And what the final straw was for me with my ex was he physically assaulted me in front of the children. And my son had to use a plastic sword to like hit his dad and get him off me. And my son's 5 now. This was a year and a half, 2 years ago. And he still brings it up. He still talks to me about it. So I think the hardest part was the treatment and allowing my children to see the way I was treated. Because they hadn't watched me get good love the first 4 or 5 years of their life. So that was the hardest part. Because I don't want my daughter to do what I did. You know, I want both my kids to be treated respectfully and kindly. And they see that now. But
your relationship with your father was
tumultuous.
Tumultuous?
Yeah. I was a daddy's girl until I could form my own opinions, I say. Once everything daddy said wasn't right and wasn't true, that's kind of when I don't want to say didn't care. He just stopped being so present in my life. And he would make comments about my weight and I got an eating disorder. You know, just, he wasn't a nice man. I know that's where I get wanting kindness so bad. He was never a nice man. But now he's older, and I gave him the boy he always wanted, so he's kinder. But I still can't cry in front of him. Tears are a big trigger for him. And now tears are a trigger for me. When my kids cry, even though I cry every day, when my kids cry, I lose it. I just can't handle listening to someone cry. Even myself. But like I said, now we're good. I mean, I see him 3-4 times a year. He loves my kids to death. And my stepmom's great. I didn't like her my whole life, but now that I'm older, I can see that she was.
Women with daddy issues will attract terrible men. Yes, I would agree that she chose a shitty man, a weak man, a man that couldn't control his emotions, and there are plenty of men like that out there. She chose a terrible man, right? A man that's not can't control his emotions. She treated that man terribly, and resulted in this man being toxic, being super toxic, you know, and also being a joke, right? Like Alvi said. This is the thing. I do not condone the violence, but we sometimes negate the contributions that women have over men. As some people may not agree, but to men, a lot of men, women are the center of our world. To a lot of men, women are the reason we do shit. Women, and this is the thing, women have more power than they lead on, because women are the reason men do shit. I mean, besides for just living, being able to survive, men work, men try to increase financial wealth, men try to exercise. Of course, there are personal reasons, but a big contributor is women. So this man couldn't control himself, got with a woman that's toxic, and obviously he was a weak man. Well, that contributed to him turning toxic himself. So, you know, these are things where, honestly, why I say that men need to focus on being the best version of themselves, which includes mentally, emotionally, being stable, being strong. Because if you don't, you become a doormat, you become spineless, you become a simp, you become an emotional wreck, you become toxic yourself. So these are things that men need to think about.
Was just doing what was best for everyone involved. My dad, mainly. He is a better person because of her, for sure.
What are you proudest of in your life?
Surviving. Just being able to wake up this morning and come here, you know. I had a couple suicide attempts, you know, just because life is wild. And when you're a drug addict, sometimes that's, you know, that's all you can see as an escape. But I survived it, so obviously I'm supposed to be here or whatever. And now I know it's because I was put on this earth to be a mom to my children. But you never know what your purpose is until you get there, and then you're still unsure, you know? So I say I'm alive for my kids, because they're the best people I've ever met.
Are the children confused about who their fathers are?
No, because they've only known him. They've only known my ex as their father.
No, but the son who is actually your boyfriend is the actual father, but your ex-husband is his original father.
Yes.
That's confusing for him, right?
I feel like children are smarter than we think they are. So I believe that my son can just almost feel it. You know, they look identical. They're twins, body build, face, hair, everything. Just the same person in different bodies. And I know he's gonna start asking questions probably here soon, because he knows they look alike. And, you know, Austin's so amazing to him and just so kind and patient, even with my crazy daughter. So I feel like he feels something. You know, he knows what good love looks like. And I do believe he'll start asking questions. And a part of me thinks he'll be relieved to find out. But no child will even find out until my ex and I both decide that it's time.
So your son is older than your daughter?
He is. He's 5.
So you had the relationship with your boyfriend, and then you
Yeah.
had another relationship.
I did. So I had a relationship with my boyfriend about 6 years ago. And then once I got pregnant, we actually kind of stopped communicating. He moved away. And then I had the baby. And he brought his girlfriend to my house to meet, unknowingly, our child, me and my ex-husband. And I wasn't super kind to her because I think maybe I knew, and I didn't like the guy that I had loved at one point bringing another woman in my house, even though I was living with another man.
God, she's so toxic. I'm who knows what her life will be, but this woman is very toxic. I cannot see the man she's with now as a good man. I can't. Because that man is toxic as well.
So he did meet Coda right when he was born. And then he kind of disappeared again when he was still living out of town. And he was still following me on social medias, which I didn't know. And my ex was like, he's still looking at my stories. And I'm like, if he's looking at your stories, he's looking at my stories. And so that's how I reconnected with him once the divorce happened, was I just reached out to him on social media.
You're trouble.
I'm not anymore. I used to be.
What's changed?
I'm madly in love with him. And he's kind and patient and everything I could have ever imagined the father of my children to be. And he's one of those guys that when you get him, you can't let him go. Because someone else will get him. And then you're going to be mad. He's just the greatest human. Just amazing. So, I mean, I kind of...
I'm sorry. How great of a human being are you to have an affair with a married woman? How great of a human being are you? I mean, yeah, he probably loves her. But is he morally sound? Not in my opinion. That man is not morally sound. This is the thing with a lot of women, that there's red flags, but she's a red flag to begin with, right? So really, toxic people will attract toxic people. And do I think that this is going to lead to amazingness? Hopefully for her, great for her. But again, you're toxic. The man you're with now is toxic.
I knew up until him and I got back together that he was always my soulmate. And he is. I do believe that to this day. And here he is, just in my life again. So I'm happy, and I'm not trouble anymore. I'm good to him for the most part.
You sure?
Yes, I'm positive. I do. I can't mess this one up. My ex-husband sucked, but this one's a good one. So I won't mess this one up.
After going through all of this, what?
Okay, whatever. I mean, she's idiotic and foolish. But it's been a 2-hour stream. So it is what it is. I mean, what do you guys think of this one?